Hey guys, welcome back to Senegalese Twisted. This is part 2 of Maîtresse and I, marié, episode 50, the season finale. And we're just gonna go back where we left off. So, Jalika went actually home after she got the bad news and after hugging Marem for what seemed like a lifetime. And once she was home, I actually heard Amina talk, and she said mom in French. And then Jalika called Biram because she needed to have a serious conversation with him. And I think that at first he was actually reluctant to come because he was like, yeah, well, what do you want from me? And but eventually he came. And Jalika actually started off by saying that you know, whatever put us together in life, you know, you cannot erase it, and neither can I. And in life I only have my children, and I have my children because of you, and I owe it to you that I have that happiness, which is, you know, her children. And I think that that was also really beautiful because she was the bigger person, like always, and actually had him sit down and have this heart-to-heart before, you know, giving the bad news. But then she continues to say that, you know, I have my children and they're my everything, and I need you to fulfill your role as a father and do it better, more consistently, because my role as a mother is almost finished. And then he was like, well, what do you mean? Because I don't think that he realized that she was trying to say that she's dying. And then she tells him that, you know, I have breast cancer, it is advanced stage, and she'll likely die. And his reaction was also the same as her reaction, because he was like, no, Jalika, you cannot have breast cancer. As if breast cancer does not happen to Senegalese people, or to good people even in this case. And he was actually crying and a bit shouting. And then Jalika was like, you know what, Amina is in the next room, she doesn't need to hear it, and she needs you. And I think that that was just her asking him to be strong for her also. And I think that she asked for forgiveness. And then Biram was also like, you know what, no, it's not you that needs forgiveness. I actually made your life miserable, and I'm sure that I've played a part in you having cancer. And he also asked for forgiveness, and he actually asked her to, you know what, stay with me, and you need to come back, and I'll take care of you and everything. And I think that was really sweet, but I don't think it comes from a genuine place, because of course he's through with Jor. So I don't think that if she was there also, Jor, that he would have said the same thing. But who knows? And I think that I think it's really sweet, but also really sad, the thought of Jalika dying and leaving her 2 young children behind with someone like Biram. However, in this scene he was actually really trying to man up and actually be not the bigger person, but a bigger Biram. Then you actually have Mustafa, who is the romantic, who is actually reading out his vows in the mirror. You know, through his vows, he was just, you know, declaring Rocky his love, and that he will love her forever, and that he hopes that God will be the only one that will be in between them, and that he really wants them both to be guided by God, but also that instead of becoming each other's husband and wife, they will just be the mirror, but also the person that brings out the best out of the other person. And I think that that was really sweet, and it's so non-traditional, I think. And I was really excited for this wedding. So then you see Rocky also getting ready to get married, and and I think that she's getting her hair done, her makeup done, her dress put on, and then you see a couple of women singing and she's walking down the stairs, and then she gets a call, and this call is from Bakary Sagna, who is Jalika's dad. And one of the crazy things is that he calls Rocky to tell her that, you know what, I'm finally ready to tell you the whole truth about where you come from and your past and everything. And then she's like, okay, so where do we meet? And he's like, I'm outside of the salon. And I'm like, why does this man know where you are, first of all? And it's just crazy. And then she goes outside and he's like, ooh, you really look nice. Is this for your, you know, like your worker man, your construction guy? And she's like, well, at least he's worth it. And I think that this means because that she said this because do you guys remember that he actually sent an envelope to her mom asking her hand in marriage? Do you guys remember that? Because he was definitely not worth it, even though her mom would have wanted it. But anyways, she goes out and he's actually telling her that, you know what, get in the car and we'll go. And then she's like, I'm not going anywhere with you. And then he just has this nasty smile, and he just has this nasty smile, and eventually I'm probably sure that he just said something in the lines of, well, then you'll never know where you come from or about your dad. And then she eventually gets in. So as Maki was actually preparing for his own wedding with the guys and telling them that you know what, in a couple of hours I'll be your married man, and he was really proud, he actually got a call from Jalika saying that she actually needed him to come over because she had something important to tell him. And she told him, and then you actually see Maki crying, and Jalika is actually, you know, telling him that, you know what, you need to look at me, and I'm so tired and I don't want to put this on you because in life, you know, I also don't want to die because I have kids. However, I'm not going to marry you, Maki, because I do not want to put you through this, you know, and I cannot just, you know, marry you and then eventually die on you. And she thinks it's actually selfish for her if she would marry him. And she actually also said that, you know, Maki, you deserve happiness. I want you to be happy, and I want you also to know that I will never know anyone the way I've known you. And if you really love me, you need to actually let me go. And I want you to know that I love you and that will stay forever, but I am not going to marry you, and I want you to actually forget about me. Then you have the scene where Marem is actually being sucked for. So then you have the scene where Merdian and Biram are actually looking for Marem, and they're actually barging into the house, knocking on her door like crazy, and then eventually she opens. But before she opens, you see that Marem was actually really scared because of course she already saw the video and she already knows why they are knocking on her door, and they're actually throwing her out of the house. And it's not even, you know, like, okay, pack your bags and just go. It's like dragging her through the house to the front door, all her stuff, her suitcase, everything out. And then you see this, you know, this short shot where you see Lala actually crying. And I think that she's guilty because it's actually her fault because she leaked the video. But yeah, so the craziest thing is that Marem does not even move. Like, I would be so humiliated that I would just get a cab and go to wherever. Rocky is actually finally talking with Mr. Sanya, and he's just explaining to her that, you know what, your dad, he used to love sand, because he's bringing her to this sandy place, and he's explaining to her, you know what, your dad, he used to love sand. He used to love to search for sand, to have sand, and to sell sand. And I think that there's just like this metaphor for him starting his construction company, because there's a lot of sand involved, because you build on these empty pieces of land and everything. So he continues to say that, you know what, we used to be three boys, and we used to be best friends, and we lived together in the same neighborhood. Our moms, our dads, our uncles, our aunties, you know, they all used to know each other, and they were just really close. And he started also talking about having possessions and fortune, and how that can ruin everything slash change everything. And however, he did say that, you know what, whenever your dad actually started to have money and building his empire company, whatever, he actually did hold us close. Because then you see the flashback where you see the three boys, where they're at their turn, they're talking about, you know what, you guys are my best friends. Then somebody else says, my best friends forever and ever. And then the other one says, I don't need other friends. And I think that's what Bakari Sanya actually means. And then you actually see a flashback where he is actually sitting. He's one of the two boys, I think the one at the chair or something, and then you see this woman who's teasing him, and that has to be Rocky's mom. And whenever she leaves the office, she comes across Rocky's dad, who's actually coming in while she's walking out. And Rocky's dad was actually really staring at her. So Bakari Sanya was actually teasing him like, oh, okay, so I see you looking at her. If you want, you know, I can make her your wife. Rocky's dad was actually like, well, you probably want my actual wife to kill me. And he was like, no, she doesn't have to know, and just say yes and I'll arrange everything. So this is probably how that came to happen. Then Rocky continues to ask, you know, who raped me then, and what's that story? And Bakari Sanya actually explains that, you know what, that person is already dead because your mom already killed him. And the person that went to jail for that is your uncle, and he took responsibility for it because he did not want to see your mom in jail. And then she asks about her father's wife and children. And we already know that Merjang is his wife, and Biram and Sheikh are his children. So those are Rocky's half-siblings. And he actually told her, well, you should forget about them. Just leave them where they are. And then he continues to say that, you know what, your rape actually ruined also a lot, and already did a lot of wrong. Because then you have the flashback where you see two children actually playing, and then one mom takes her child and is like, no, don't play with her, her mom doesn't want you to play with her. And then the mom comes out and is actually attacking them and telling her that, you know what, her father is a rapist, and you are married to a rapist, and this and that. And she is actually really sad, because she's like, you know what, we're actually tired, and we're hungry, and these are just kids, just let them play. And she's like, no, you go away with your rapist, everything. And that was really crazy. But I think that is like the daughter and the wife of the actual rapist. Then you have another flashback where you see actually what happened before Biram actually had the flashback of being in an accident. And the flashback is actually Rocky's mom sitting in the front and asking Rocky's dad that, you know, just present me to everybody as your wife so that everybody knows who I am and everything goes easier, because the way I'm living now, it's not ideal for me and this is not how I want to live. But he's really actually agitated and he starts, you know, shouting like, yeah, I'll take care of it and everything. And then you actually see Biram and he's like, who is this? Who is this? And that's when they get the actual accident. And I think that at this point, Rocky's mom was already pregnant of Rocky, and that is when Rocky's dad actually died in the accident. And this is where I think that Biram actually took blame for it, or he thought it was his fault, because I'm sure that people told him that he was in the car alone with his dad and that he might have caused the accident. And then you actually finally see that Amsa has actually reached Marem, because as you saw, she was actually stuck in traffic, which is so typical for Dakar. And she finally reached Marem's house, and she's already out, and she's still out there with her clothes and her suitcase and all her stuff. And they're actually going to the airport, and I thought that they would be leaving together actually, but that's not the case. It's only Marem that's leaving. I don't even know to which country she's just going. And whenever they say goodbye, Amsa Marem actually asks Amsa, like, you know what's going to happen with you, and will you be okay? And Amsa is like, well, you know what, I need to clean up after whenever you leave, I'll have to clean up. That's my duty. I'll be all right, just as long as you are far away from this mess. And I think that that shows how loyal Amsa is to Marem, but also how loyal Marem is to Amsa. Then you see that Amsa actually gets home, and she gets the scare of her life because she finds Sheikh at her house. And I don't think she expected that, especially not after, you know, the whole video got on the internet and everything. But he really wants to know where Marem is, and he's actually, you know, making some threats. And he's like, if you don't tell me where she is, I'll make your life miserable and everything. So I believe she told him, because then you see him at the airport actually crying because you see the plane, and he's like, oh my god, don't go, Marem, Marem, don't go, don't go, don't go. So in that last scene, you actually see Rocky being still with Mr. Sanya. However, it was pitch dark, and when I saw that it was pitch dark, I knew that something sinister was about to happen. And unfortunately it did. Mr. Sanya tried to be touchy-feely with Rocky, and she was not having it. I think that it brought up maybe a few flashbacks or memories from when she was raped when she was little. And when she saw that brick, that was her only way out, and she smashed his head in a couple of times. And the only and first thing I could think about was, what is it that Jalika actually wished upon her dad again? His painful and slow death. Who is going to take responsibility for Rocky's actions? Because I do see a pattern where she put herself in the same position as her dad, as her mom, because her mom also killed somebody, because that person raped Rocky. And now I really want to know what's going to happen next, and I really want to know whenever it's gonna come back. Thank you guys for watching. Yes, I have an announcement, and the announcement is that I'm actually going to Senegal next week. I'm so happy. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm going to try to actually make some vlogs, so definitely be on the lookout for more videos in Senegal. Be on the lookout for blog posts on senegalese-twisted.com. Definitely check out my Instagram at Senegalese Twisted. And I think that was it for my announcement. Let's go back to Maîtresse and I. And what I want to know from you is, do you think that Maki is actually going to try and forget Jalika, or do you think that he might take up his chances with Rocky? Do you think that Jalika is really going to die? Do you think that Biram is finally going to man up and try to be a better father at least, and maybe try to work on his role as a mom? Do you think that mommy will ever be able to look Jalika in the eyes again? Do you think that Mariam actually left the country? Because I actually thought that she might just be standing behind Cher. Do you think that Cher is ever going to forgive Mariam? Do you think that Lala is ever going to forgive herself? And last question, do you think that Raki, Biram and Cher will ever have the opportunity to be closer together? And also, do you think that somebody's going to take responsibility for the murder of Bakari Sanya? Or do you think that Raki will have to die in jail, or actually go to jail? Let me all know below. Any questions about Senegal? Any questions about Maitresse? Let me know. And see you guys in my next video, which I hope will be a vlog.